Hold on to your seats, because I'm opening this show today. We're talking about the most notorious, obnoxious athletes of all time.
Pretty nice job from a notorious guy. 1010 XL Showdown is next.
I'm ready to bring the pain.
Bear Bryant built the SEC.
Have you lost your mind?
Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Mike, it's time for me to school you.
If you're talking school, it must be old school.
I think you need your head examined.
Greatest of all time, you've got to be joking.
You're just sucking up to those fans.
Wrong. You're wrong.
Just hear me out.
That's crazy.
You can't really believe he's the best.
The man is a legend.
It is 1010 XL Showdown. Welcome to the program. Frangie along with Mike Dempsey, where we talk about bad guys, among other stuff.
I'm glad you called me notorious and not obnoxious, although you wouldn't have gotten an argument out of me.
I wouldn't have done that. You're notorious, and you're not a bad guy. We got some bad guys to talk about. That's kind of a fun show.
There's plenty of them out there.
All right. Who is the athlete you truly love to hate? Who do we love to hate? Who do you love to hate? We'll start with you. It's a Tom Bush BMW shout-out.
I would actually have to say recently Leftwich.
Barry Bonds.
Ron Mexico, no doubt.
Dennis Rodman.
Terrell
Owens. I'll take Randy Moss.
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens.
Terrell Owens.
T.O.
Kobe would be close to the top of the list.
Today, what comes to mind is Pac-Man Jones, just because of all the crap he's gotten into.
Mark Alexander, one of our pitchers here for the Suns, he's very obnoxious.
I'd say Barry Bonds.
Who's that guy that was punching people in the stands?
Is he a boxer? I have
No,
no idea
in
what you're talking
basketball.
about.
Basketball.
Oh, Ron
Artest.
That's him.
That was Ron Artest, right? Ron Artest, she was trying to say.
I wasn't sure, but I think they finally got it.
She was trying to say. All right, Mike, let's talk about most disruptive, obnoxious, get in the way guys. You got a list?
I have a list. It took me a while to come up with just 5. I had to weed out a lot of guys. Let's start with number 5, and he got mentioned quite a bit. Clearly disruptive, Terrell Owens has been disruptive to the 49ers. He talked his way out of San Francisco, ran his way out of Philadelphia, and of course now he's in Dallas. The one thing that saves T.O., though, from being higher on the list is that he performs when it's time to get the job done. John Rocker was my number 5. Social commentator John Rocker went from one of the most fearsome relievers to the butt of 1,000 jokes. Pac-Man Jones, for today's game, this guy is just an arrest a day, it seems, and just ridiculous to the point that he's really governing the way Roger Goodell is running this discipline policy in the NFL. John Daly, number 2, gets overlooked a lot, but a guy who
love Daly.
Well, you love him, but you want to talk about a guy who's notorious, the smoking, the quitting, the womanizing, the boozing, all that stuff. And finally, number 1, though, I don't think, in my mind, there's any debate. Start with the fact that he's a convicted rapist, and it goes downhill from there. Mike Tyson, who was, best known now for all the bad things he did. He squandered hundreds of millions of dollars of a fortune, bit Evander Holyfield on the ear, not once but twice. Mike Tyson was just a bad guy.
I'll give you my list. Dennis Rodman, I think, was the most disruptive, sometimes in a good way for his team, sometimes in a bad way, but I thought he was always in the news too much. Bill Romanowski's a bad guy. I think Bill Romanowski's one of the real bad guys out there. Maybe he's cleaned up his act, maybe he's not, but I think he's a bad guy. Mike Tyson, for sure, of all the reasons you said, Mike Tyson is certainly. I thought Mike Tyson was a great fighter in his day, but I sometimes wonder, I know you've made this point, maybe it was more hype than substance, but I thought he was a great fighter at the time. Randy Moss, I think, is grown up a little bit, but too much baggage for me from Randy Moss. Talked too much, did too much, just play the game, and I do think Terrell Owens is the poster child. Mike, wherever he winds up going, Terrell Owens brings down quarterbacks. He insults quarterbacks. He yells at offensive coordinators on the side of the field. I'm telling you, I'd have a hard time playing him. And I think his legacy will fade because of all that. People will remember that more than the fact that he was an awfully good player.
Well, you know what? Led the league in TDs last year. Got Tony Romo to the Pro Bowl in half the year as a starter. Donovan McNabb's stats, Jeff Garcia's stats, didn't suffer with this guy in the lineup. He's a disruptive off-the-field presence. On the field, I don't know if you can question T.O.'s desire and ability to play hard.
All right, one guy that's playing today, the most disruptive guy who's messing things up today. You got one guy, today's guy.
Well, it's got to be Pac-Man Jones. And you know what? Is he playing today? Well, he's not playing this year with the suspensions, but Pac-Man Jones is a guy who's become the caricature of the modern athlete who just cannot simply stay out of trouble. And it's one thing after another. It's the strip clubs. It's the traffic arrests. It's on and on and on with this guy. Who knows what he's done lately that we just haven't heard about yet?
Mike, I agree with you. He is the most disruptive. In fact, if the things he did weren't so bad, it would be comical. His life has been comical. His years in the NFL have been comical. Clearly, Pac-Man Jones has been a joke, and I don't think anybody would debate that.
And along with Chris Henry, West Virginia's got to be proud of its alumni base.
I'm telling you, the Mountaineers. Now, every week or often, we ask you what you think. We do it on a web poll. It's a 1010XL web poll. Here are your thoughts.
It's time for round 2 on the 1010XL Showdown presented by Florida Telco.
The program is 1010XL Showdown. Frank Frangie along with Mike Dempsey talking about bad guys, guys we don't like, people that have stood out in notorious ways. Maybe you don't like. Who do you hate?
I got plenty I don't like.
Maybe 2 or 3 you hate.
You know
fans
what?
You hated. Fans you hated.
It's
Players you
more
hated.
personal than whether they're bad guys or not. In some cases, they are bad guys. You mentioned one of them earlier, Bill Romanowski.
Yeah.
I don't see how anybody likes this guy. I mean, he is truly a bad person from everything I've gathered, in addition to being just kind of an obnoxious jerk. I love to hate Barry Bonds.
Right.
You know, Barry Bonds is kind of the easy poster boy for hatred these days. And for me personally, you're going to think I'm crazy, but from a fan's perspective, the guy I hated the most with the most passion was Michael Jordan.
You hated Jordan?
I'm a Knicks fan. Michael Jordan maybe single-handedly kept my team from going to the NBA Finals, who knows, 3, 4, 5 times. For me, as a fan, I hate the guys who stand in the way of my team's success. I hated Jordan. I respected him, but I hated Jordan as a player.
For people that weren't watching last week, you know why you hated him?
There it is.
That's why you hated him, okay? Same memo.
You kept the memo. Finally kept the memo.
He won 6 titles. I love Jordan, but I was rooting for Jordan's team, and I can certainly see why you wouldn't like him. I had maybe a similar feeling about Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson's a great player. But I think he was really more of a showman than he was a bad guy.
Careful now.
Okay, you got a pen.
We may fight.
Okay, a pen.
He only has 5.
But what a great player. But I couldn't stand him because I was always rooting against him. The other guy to me isn't a player, but Bob Knight. I am annoyed by Bob Knight. I know it's not a player, but I'm annoyed by Bob Knight. Are you annoyed by Bob Knight? Do you like Bob Knight?
I guess some people do. I'm not one of them.
Can't stand Bob Knight. So I'm annoyed by Bob Knight, and I like Michael Jordan in his 6. All right. We talked about players and coaches you like or don't like. Well, who are the most obnoxious of you? The most obnoxious fans? We're going to tell you what we think, but right now, we wanted to see what you thought of each other. It's a Tom Bush BMW shout out.
Steelers fans.
Florida Gator fans.
Knicks.
I was going to say either the Bengals or Cowboys. No, definitely Cowboy fans.
The Florida Gators.
Seminoles.
Florida State. Never mind. I say Miami Hurricanes.
Oakland Raiders, and then maybe the Redskins, the Pigs, the Pig Ladies, or what do they call them?
New York Yankees.
Yankees suck.
Red Sox fans.
I'm going to say SEC football fans in general.
Probably the Browns fans.
Cleveland.
Gator fans.
I concur, and I'm a Florida grad.
White trash.
That's an easy one. Anybody that's got their own jail and their own stadium, Philadelphia Eagles. Hands down. Worst fans.
Did she call me white trash?
I believe she called you
Called me
white
white
trash.
trash.
Now, I don't
Can
think
you call
you're
those
white
white
trash
trash?
necessarily, but, you know, I'm not speaking for everybody.
Easy. All right, top 5 most obnoxious fans. Who are they?
Well, other than yourself personally,
Right,
I've
right.
got my list of the top 5, and I'll start. I think Atlanta Braves fans are obnoxious because, you know what? All these fans who bought all this Braves gear in the 1990s want to forget about the dark, ugly past when the bumper sticker read, "Go Braves," and take the Falcons with you. There was nothing good about Atlanta, and now they're a bunch of front runners. Same with the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, Michael Jordan. Oh, Michael Jordan. My mom was a Bulls fan. That's obnoxious, okay?
You're mad at Mom right now.
She doesn't
aren't
know
you?
anything
You're mad
about
at Mom.
sports. She's a Bulls fan. You're an obnoxious Pittsburgh Steelers fan, like every other one. I think you'll agree that Steeler fans are very obnoxious. To me, the Red Sox are right up there. Win one World Series every 9 decades and act like you're the cock of the walk and the number one
You're a bitter
most
man. You know
obnoxious.
you're a bitter
No,
man,
look,
aren't
this is bringing
Very
out
bitter
my
man.
passion because there's
Love
a
you,
lot of
bitter.
obnoxious people out there.
Okay.
Yourself included. The Florida Gators are clearly
Number
the most
one?
obnoxious
You got 'em
fan
number
base.
one on the list?
Number one. And why not? They think they're number one on every other list, all right?
Well, they kind of are.
By the way,
Number one on every other
college
list.
basketball
Point that out,
history
too.
started 2 years ago if you're wearing orange and blue.